The scandal has broken out, the scandal about the Son of God, the God-man who dies for sinners undeserving. The scandal is broken out to all the world, to all the peoples and all the languages about the Son of God who hangs on the cross, the King who does not come to rule as all other kings have. It's the scandal of a king and a God who dies for the people. It's a shepherd who leads by example. It's a gospel that shakes every part of religion that's out there. Breaking forth in the streets and in the high buildings and high societies. It's reaching the poor and the rich, the tall and the short, the black and the white and the green if they exist. It's reaching everyone. It's calling, come to the feast. Come, come one, come all. It's an invitation that all who would believe, let him come. If you thirst and you hunger, let him come. It's the gospel that's shaking every part of society and every understanding that we thought we had. It's the gospel that goes beyond what we think we can earn. It's the gospel of what God has done, not what any human being can do. The blanket has been given, the garment comes from above. It's the righteousness that's without us and outside of us, external to every inch of every human being. There's nothing that each could have done.
Masih Nabi nama Saba Sisi Landulele Samge Lengo Weta Aba Ume Molo
So many excuses and reasons to reject such an invitation. My mom, my family, my culture, my everything, my degree, my education, everything lies on this. Will you accept and be born again and leave everything and deny yourself and take up this horrible cross? It's a gospel that reaches out and makes each and everyone who shall come to deny everything they know. But there are so many excuses, our gods and our cultures. There are so many excuses, our intellect and everything that's about us is against such a scandal. Oh, let us cast away all excuses and all gods. Let us put away the sin that so easily entangles us and come to such an invitation. See the tears fall as the dust is being poured down to societies that reject such a God who loves and loves unconditionally those who shall believe. See the societies stand and government stands and reject such a king who came to conquer hearts of men. When it passes, what will you do? It's a gospel that's not gonna last for eternity. It's a gospel that's inviting you now.
Kuva
Don't you care that the doors are being closed as we speak? There are people who die in mortuaries and hospitals as we speak. They go without this Christ and this gospel. Don't you care? This gospel was not in vain. This exchange was not fair. It was a brutal trade of the holy for the unholy, of Christ for the Barnabas. Don't you care that people die in each and every day to face the wrath of God? Don't you care that the doors close in on every life when it loses its last breath? We sit here, we've heard the news, but the doors are closing in. Don't you care that doors are closing in taverns and ship inns? Don't you care that people are being prosecuted? The doors are closing in. And we sit here, we admire this selfless Christ and go live indulgent lives. Don't you care? But one person cared to leave everything, to come to be brutalized by the creatures he created. But don't you care? People are suffocating in the media with these big churches and prosperity preachers. Don't you care that people are suffering with this false teaching and deception that sends people to hell? Oh, people are being motivated to take steps and steps to hell. How many motivated people are in hell? Don't you care that bishops and presidents and pastors and leaders and reverends alike are all moving slowly and surely to hell? Don't you care that once upon a time there will be a day when people will hear these harsh and sad words when the Lord himself says, "I knew you not"? The mission is amongst us. The mission is your neighbor. The mission is in your corridors, in your residence. The mission is in your church. How many people are go to church but they will go to hell? But don't we care? We scream of such a grace that can save anyone, but we walk with goats and pretend that they are sheep until at the last day we say they must rest in peace. There is no peace beyond the grave for the Christless person. There is no peace beyond the grave for the Christless person. The only letters that should be written there is R-I-H, rest in hell, rejectors of God. Because there will be a day when the Christ will shout and everyone will listen. There will be no corruption, no bribes, no negotiation. The supreme word will be spoken. I never knew you. Away from me. But to sit here and marvel at such verses as Christians or so-called Christians, fat in the head with knowledge, but cold in the heart with love and passion and compassion for poor dying sinners. We have no passion for the glory of God, for the rebels which stand opposed to his grace. There are people who are dying as we speak with false religion, with a Christless religion, a gospel-less religion, a godless religion. They say, come and claim your packages, come and claim your cars and buildings. And they claim them and claim them and claim them until they claim hell. And you sit here and marvel at such. But don't you care? Don't you care? Our salvation was not fair. It was not for the just, for the just. It was a brutal exchange. The holy for the unholy. The king for the servants. But don't you care? Don't you care that people die and die and die? And as we speak, there are people who are being sent to hell as we speak. The wrath of God absorbs them and absorbs them and absorbs them. But we sit here with big heads and cold hearts. We sit here with big heads and cold hearts. No compassion and no love. no sorrow and no intercession, no prayers and no intervention. But once, when everything is finished, we'll stand in that judgment seat of Christ. And once we'll see all the bishops and the kings who rejected him. We'll see the leaders of church and cults who rejected this Christ and chose to mislead people. We'll see people from the streets which thought they had suffered enough and they will be told, away from me. Hell awaits you. We'll see young girls and old boys. We'll see grandpas who have followed and stuck closer to the dead culture which corrupts us. The only hunger and only question that our soul wants is, how will you spend your eternity? We see people so reckless with their souls and so careless with their souls. And our only goal is to get rich. Our only goal is comfort. Our only goal is making it. And then we try and criticize those who do. Our salvation was at a cost. It's not something that we can easily boast, but it's something that each and every one of us should give our lives for. A man must find something to die for, and then he must live for that. But don't be care.
Lapho, baso